Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to really dig into ideas and pull out what matters.
That's right.
Today, we've got a source that promises some, well, pretty profound insights for life. It's excerpts from MCS Philippians chapter 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A really rich chapter.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack Paul's ancient wisdom from this chapter and see how it can actually empower us, right now, discovering what the source calls the power for walking with Christ.
Okay.
So let's jump in.
Well, what's really compelling, I think, about this chapter is how Paul shifts gears. He goes from these big spiritual goals, the study calls it sanctification, right? Becoming more like Christ.
Right, that whole process.
Exactly. And he connects it directly to these incredibly practical, like daily steps. It stops being just abstract theology.
Yeah, it becomes a roadmap.
It really does. A roadmap for just navigating everyday life.
That's such a critical point because, sometimes these deep spiritual ideas feel lofty, a bit out of reach.
Sure they can.
But Paul, he starts chapter 4, verse 1, with something super personal, foundational. So my brothers, whom I love and long for, my joy and my crown, my dear friends, keep standing firm in union with the Lord.
Such warm language.
Totally. And the study we're looking at, it really emphasizes that standing firm isn't about perfection. It means, and I quote, continuing the race even as we are imperfect and sometimes miss the mark.
Mm-hmm.
It's this powerful reminder that our connection, our union with the Lord, that's the anchor. It ensures nothing can shake us from that. It sounds like real stability even when we mess up.
Absolutely. And if you zoom out just a bit, that opening verse, it just lays down this foundation of grace, our standing. It's not based on how well we perform.
Okay.
It's about being securely connected, that union with the Lord. And honestly, that's a game changer for anyone who's, striving but feels crushed by their imperfections.
Yeah, the pressure to earn it somehow.
Right. It shifts the whole focus. It's not about our effort. It's about a relationship that's already solid.
Okay, so speaking of relationships, Paul does something really interesting next. Very practical, maybe even a bit surprising.
Uh-huh.
He immediately pivots in verses 2 and 3 to, specific people problems in the church. He says, I beg Evodia and Syntyche to agree with each other in union with the Lord.
Wow, calling them out by name.
Yeah, and then he asks for help for these women because they have worked hard proclaiming the good news with me, whose names are in the book of life.
So, clearly valued members, but friction.
Right. And the source material points out, we are not in this race alone. The goal is always striving for the same goal. It's not about judging if someone stumbles. It's about extending a hand, assisting and encouraging.
That really brings up a question for us today, doesn't it? In our culture, which is so often about the individual, my success, my achievements.
Totally.
How vital is this ancient message, this call for collective effort, mutual support, even when there are disagreements, which obviously there were right here?
Yeah.
And the commentary stresses this need to emphasize the big point, which is Jesus Christ, not every little point of doctrine.
Prioritize the main thing.
Exactly. Focus on what unites us, not the little things that can tear us apart. It's a challenge.
It really is for any group, any church, any family, really. So after unity, Paul gives this command that honestly can feel almost counterintuitive sometimes, especially in tough times.
Okay.
Philippians 4, verses 4 and 5. Rejoice in union with the Lord always. I will say it again. Rejoice. And then right after that command to rejoice, he says, let everyone see how reasonable and gentle you are. The Lord is near.
Wow. Rejoice, then be gentle.
Yeah. And the study connects that joy directly to inner strength. It even quotes Nehemiah 8:10 saying, a sad Christian has no power to follow Christ.
Powerful quote.
And that call for gentleness, it's about being reasonable. And again, putting Jesus first, not getting hung up on every little point of doctrine.
What strikes me there is that Paul isn't just talking about a happy feeling. He's presenting joy as this deliberate spiritual practice, a power source.
Like a choice.
Yes. A choice, a strategy against despair. It keeps you resilient even when things are objectively not joyful. And then pairing that strength with gentleness, it creates this powerful but also approachable way of being. It shows how real strength, godly strength, isn't harsh. It actually influences people positively.
That blend of strength and gentleness is compelling. Then Paul, building on that inner strength, tackles something huge. Worry.
Oh, yeah. Universal struggle.
Right. And he offers this profound solution in verses 6 and 7, which so many people find comfort in. Don't worry about anything. On the contrary, make your requests known to God by prayer and petition with thanksgiving.
The with thanksgiving part is key.
Totally. Then God's shalom, passing all understanding, will keep your hearts and minds safe in union with the Messiah Yeshua.
Shalom. Such a rich word.
The source describes this whole process as sharing the everyday moments of our lives with him, just bringing it all to God, and it promises this deep peace that others cannot shake or identify, specifically when we trust God and thank him even before we see the answer.
If you think about the wider implications here, this isn't just about feeling, a bit calmer for a moment. It's about receiving God's shalom. And shalom, well, it's this incredible Hebrew concept. It's not just lack of conflict. It's wholeness, well-being, prosperity, flourishing, everything working together as it should.
Wow. Much bigger than just peace and quiet.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
This kind of deep, comprehensive peace. It's genuinely transformative because it acts like an inner guard, keeping your hearts and minds safe no matter what chaos is swirling outside. Outsiders just can't figure it out.
We could all use more of that shalom for sure. Then Paul gets super practical again. He gives us this mental checklist in Philippians 4.8.
To think about these things verb.
Exactly. In conclusion, brothers, focus your thoughts on what is true, noble, righteous, pure, lovable, or admirable, on some virtue or on something praiseworthy.
It's quite a list.
It is. And the commentary points out this isn't just like random positive thinking. It's worship, not without knowledge. It's actively guarding our minds by not dwelling on the bad things that happen and instead focusing on the things that are good, which come from God, consciously redirecting.
That really poses an important question, doesn't it? Especially today, with a constant flood of information, so much negativity.
Wow. Oh, absolutely.
How vital is this ancient advice about intentionally directing where our thoughts go? It's like being a really diligent gatekeeper for your own mind.
Yeah, choosing what gets in.
Right. Actively deciding what you're going to dwell on. Proactive mental and spiritual health. Recognizing that our focus shapes everything, our outlook, our ability to worship, our peace.
And Paul doesn't just tell them what to do. He points to himself. He shows them. Philippians 4.9, he says boldly, keep doing what you have learned and received from me, what you have heard and seen me doing. Then the God who gives shalom will be with you.
That takes some confidence.
Right. Our source notes Paul's confidence here, urging them to follow his personal example. The study sees it as a kind of mentoring today, and it actually laments a perceived lack of Christian men and women standing up and demonstrating Jesus to our younger generations.
What's fascinating about Paul's approach there is his willingness to be the template. He's not just giving out information.
No, he's saying, watch me.
Exactly. Watch me do what I do. It really makes you think about the impact of just living a consistent, authentic life. It's about embodying the message, stepping up as mentors, and actually showing what walking with Christ looks like, not just talking about it from afar.
That's powerful. Paul then gets really personal, sharing this deep insight about his own contentment, Philippians 4.0 to 12.
Okay.
He's happy the Philippians helped him out financially again. But then he says this remarkable thing about his inner state. I have learned to be content regardless of circumstances.
Regardless, that's the key word.
Yeah. I know what it is to be in want, and I know what it is to have more than enough. I have learned the secret of being full and being hungry, of having abundance and being in need.
So what's the secret?
Well, according to the study, the secret to this deep contentment is simply resting in the provision of the Lord.
Resting in that?
Yeah. Understanding that God is in control. And here's a crucial bit. If he has not provided something and you are his child, then you can be assured that it is in your best interest to not have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's radical trust, isn't it? Because Paul's contentment, it's not passive resignation like, oh, well, just this is my lot.
No, it doesn't sound like that.
It sounds like an act of trust. Trusting that even God's non-provision of something is part of his perfect plan for you, just as much as his provision is.
That completely reframes having enough.
Totally. It's not about having a lot of stuff. It's about being aligned with God's will, finding your sufficiency in Christ alone, whether you have a little or a lot.
And it's right after explaining this deep contentment, grounded in his own experience, that Paul delivers one of the most famous lines in the whole Bible. Philippians 4.15.
I can do all things through him who gives me power. But the study is quick to clarify this isn't just, a generic motivational poster slogan.
Right. It gets misused sometimes.
Yeah. The study explains when we worship God, we are reminded of the power that we have through Jesus Christ. We can handle anything and do anything that God has planned for us. It really shifts the idea of personal power.
It absolutely does. The bigger picture here is that I can do all things. Isn't it about my personal goals or like developing superpowers?
Right.
It's about divine enablement. It's about God equipping you for anything that God has planned for us. It completely redefines power. It's not self-reliance.
It's Christ reliance.
Exactly. A powerful, active reliance on Christ for his purposes. It's an assurance. Whatever he calls you to do, he'll give you the strength to do it. That context is so important. Okay, so after those really personal insights, Paul circles back to the Philippians' generosity again, verses 14 to 19.
Okay.
He commends them, praises them for their unique financial support, even notes, not a single congregation shared with me, only you, back in his early days.
Who are special partners.
Yeah. But then he clarifies his motive. I am not seeking the gift. Rather, I am looking for what will increase the credit balance of your account.
Interesting phrasing, credit balance.
Right. The commentary highlights this. Sacrificial giving is a part of worship, and a gift to the work of God is a credit to our account. It even brings up that old saying, you can't outgive God. Paul says he is more than paid in full. Their gifts are like a fragrant aroma, an acceptable sacrifice, one that pleases God well. And then he makes this huge promise. Moreover, my God will fill every need of yours according to his glorious wealth in union with the Messiah Yeshua.
Wow, that's quite a promise.
It is. But the study adds an important caution here. It warns against misinterpreting this like God's going to give you whatever our little heart desires.
The needs versus wants distinction.
Exactly. The promise is specifically for all of our needs.
And that theology of reciprocity Paul presents is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not transactional like put $1 in, get $10 back.
No, not like a vending machine.
Right. It's more about understanding that giving to God's work, it builds up this credit balance in a spiritual way. It's about worship, trust, partnership, and keeping that line clear between genuine needs and just desires is so crucial for a healthy understanding of God's provision.
Keeps us grounded.
Definitely. It reminds us he's faithful to provide what we truly need to live for him, not just fulfill every whim.
Okay, so Paul starts wrapping up his letter. Verses 20 to 23, he gives glory to God, sends greetings, and includes this amazing little detail. Greetings, especially those in the emperor's household.
Whoa.
Yeah.
In Caesar's household.
Right. The study points out that even while he was in chains, Paul was serving the Lord, and somehow people in Caesar's household accepted Christ. It just shows his ministry kept going, even under house arrest in Rome, reaching right into the heart of the empire.
That's incredible impact from confinement.
Isn't it? And his final verse is this powerful blessing. The grace of the Lord Yeshua the Messiah be with your spirit.
Grace again.
Yeah. And our source offers the answer to how Paul could serve like that, even in chains. When our spirit is focused on the grace that has been given through Jesus, we can look past our surroundings and worship the Lord.
That focus on grace transcends circumstances. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How can Paul's example, finding purpose, making an impact while literally chained up, all rooted in this concept of grace, how can that inspire us?
Yeah.
To look beyond our own limits, our own chains, whatever they might be, challenging job, difficult relationship, health issues.
Yeah, our perceived limitations.
Exactly. How can focusing on grace help us push past those? It's just this powerful testament to God's active presence, his liberating power, even when things feel incredibly restrictive. It shows how adversity can actually become a platform for worship and service.
So wrapping this all up, what have I really unpacked today? This deep dive into Philippians 4, it's just unfolded so many layers of strength and peace.
It really has.
We saw that power of standing firm even when we're imperfect, the absolute necessity of unity, that surprising strength found in choosing joy, the deep, deep peace that comes from prayer and thanksgiving, the discipline of guarding our thoughts.
Yeah. The mental gatekeeping.
Right. We explored how contentment isn't about what we have, but about actively resting in God's perfect plan and provision.
Trusting his no's as much as his yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, understanding that all things are possible, not through our own might, but through Christ's power when we're aligned with his will.
You know, if we connect all these dots, Paul's letter here, it's not just history. It's like a living guide for navigating life right now.
Yeah. It really challenges every one of us, I think, to ask, what chains or limitations do I feel are holding me back? Maybe they're external circumstances, maybe internal struggles, mental barriers.
Things that feel restrictive.
Right. And then how might a real shift in focus, truly embracing the grace that's available to us through Christ, how might that transform my ability to serve anyway, to find real joy anyway? to experience that peace that truly passes all understanding no matter what's going on around me.
A fundamental shift in perspective.
Exactly. Hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a really robust toolkit for finding that power, that peace, that purpose in your own walk.